There are some stories that live quietly inside a person for years, heavy with truth and pain, waiting for the right moment to be spoken. This is one of those stories. It is not about headlines or fame, but about loss, silence, and the courage it takes to finally let the truth breathe. As a young woman stepping into adulthood, she believed her life was steady and protected. Her family felt whole, loving, and secure, the kind of home where dreams were encouraged and futures carefully nurtured. Nothing on the surface suggested that darkness had already begun to take root behind closed doors. One ordinary night changed everything. A phone call shattered the calm, delivering news that no child is ever prepared to hear. Her mother was gone. Shock wrapped itself around her heart as she rushed across the country, longing for the comfort of her father's arms, believing that at least one safe place still remained. But when she arrived, the world broke again. The man she expected to see was not there. Instead, she was met with another truth so cruel it felt unreal. In a matter of hours, both parents were gone, leaving behind confusion, disbelief, and questions with no immediate answers. They had sounded happy. They had sounded normal. Just hours earlier, there was laughter, warmth, and love in their voices. There were no warnings loud enough to prepare her for what followed, no signs that could explain such a sudden and devastating loss. The days that followed felt frozen in time. Grief blurred reality, and shock dulled emotion. Friends spoke softly, relatives tried to help, but nothing could fill the space left behind. It wasn't just the loss of parents. It was the loss of certainty, of safety, of the life she thought she understood. When the truth finally arrived months later, it came with a weight heavier than grief itself. The answers revealed a hidden struggle, one that had been carefully concealed behind smiles and routine. Addiction, pain, and silence had lived alongside love, unnoticed by those closest to them. What followed was not just mourning, but shame. Shame that didn't belong to her, yet settled deeply into her identity. She learned to soften the story, to protect others from discomfort, to hide the reality behind acceptable words. The truth became something she carried alone. As she built her career and stepped into public spaces, fear followed her. Fear that her past would define her. Fear that honesty would cost her everything she had worked for. She judged herself before anyone else ever could, believing that her story made her fragile or unworthy. But time has a way of reshaping pain. Slowly, she began to understand that silence was not strength, and hiding was not healing. The very truth she feared was the truth that could set her free. Speaking became an act of courage, not weakness. When she finally shared her story, something unexpected happened. There was no rejection. There was no judgment. Instead, there was compassion, understanding, and relief. People listened, and in listening, they helped carry the weight she had held alone for so long. She learned that shame loses its power when it is named. That grief does not define a person, but resilience does. That the hardest chapters of life are not endings, but foundations for something stronger and more honest. Today, her story is no longer a secret. It is a reminder that love can exist even in broken places, that struggle does not erase goodness, and that truth, no matter how painful, has the power to heal. What once felt like the moment that destroyed her life became the moment that shaped it. Not by breaking her, but by building her into someone unafraid to stand in the light, carrying loss with grace, and turning pain into purpose.